Hello, I'm Isabelle Hamley. I'm the principal at Ridley. I'm also a theologian and a writer. I write books about God, about faith, about scripture, and how we live in the church. I've always enjoyed writing, but it never occurred to me growing up that I would write books about God and about theology, I have to say. But I enjoy writing, and what I enjoy the most is getting other people really excited about God, really excited about faith. I think I'm a speaker first, so a lot of my books come out of preaching on certain topics and out interacting with the life of the church, and then they become books as I go along. Because God matters. We write about theology, about God, because God matters, because the life of faith matters. I don't just write, I also speak. There are lots of ways of kind of coming to think and reflect about the life of faith. But I think there's something important about having places where we do some concentrated thinking, as it were, where we take a step back, where we reflect, where we gather wisdom from the wider church throughout the ages and throughout the world, so that we can think together, reflect together, learn together more of who God is, more of who we are, and more of how we follow God. I love scripture. For me, writing about scripture is about helping other people get excited about scripture. Sometimes I think, well, we could just let scripture speak for itself. And that's really, really important. I believe with every fibre of my being that every Christian can pick up scripture and meet God by reading scripture. End of. That's how I met God. That's how I became a Christian. But it's also true that the Bible has got lots and lots of difficult bits. And actually the risk is often that we go to the good bits or the easy bits of the Bible, the ones we understand or we think we understand, and we just stay there. One of my friends called it paddling in the shallows. But actually there's something really interesting about learning to swim further, about learning to go deeper. And often we need the wisdom of others to be able to do that. We need a little bit of help because the Bible was written a very long time ago in a very different context. And so there's something helpful about having other people guide us on that journey. But the other thing is, if I just read the Bible on my own, I have my own thoughts. But actually my own thoughts are personally not always very good. And sometimes they're biased, sometimes they're constrained by my situation in life, by who I am, by the people I meet, by the questions I ask because of my culture. And so there is something really helpful about reading about scripture, because that helps us to learn together, to learn beyond the individual, and actually learning to read scripture as a church. Reading scripture is a team sport. There is something really scary about putting pen to paper and thinking I'm going to write about God. I mean, who I am to have anything to say, right? And I can so easily get it wrong. And there's always part of me that thinks, gosh, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? But all I can do is use the gifts that God has given me and somehow try and honor God with those. And place it before God and place it before others and do the best that I can. And I do have readers for my book, people that I talk to that might challenge me or push me to think, and that's helpful because that means that it's not all just about me. But equally, there is a sense of, when you write something, often, well, at least for me, it comes from very deep inside. It comes from experience. It comes from mulling things over, and it's really precious to me. And there's something scary about just putting it out there, right? And it's scary because it matters, because God matters, because our life of faith matters. But equally, it is one offering amongst many, many other offerings. And if we're serious about learning about God and about Scripture as a church rather than as individuals, then my contribution is only one tiny, tiny fragment. And we need all of the others so that together we can have a better picture of who God is. I write out of my interaction with life, the life of the world, and the life of the church. For me, writing comes out of engagement I'm not one of those people who needs to go away for 6 months and then a book comes. I only write when I'm busy, when I'm active, when I'm doing stuff and it sparks idea and it sparks thoughts. I write on the edges and margins of life, as it were. I often scribble things. I might have half an hour in a cafe and just write something or put some thoughts down. Often I'll put lots and lots of thought down. I have lots and lots of notes, and I don't start writing a book until the entire book is in my head, which might sound weird, but until I've kind of done all of the thinking and I've kind of organized it, both in my head and then on paper, I don't start writing, and then I just sit down and pretty much write the whole thing, which is slightly strange. And then, of course, you go back and you edit. But for me, the majority of the work happens before I really put pen to paper. If you want to write, I would say you have to start by reading and work out what do you like to read? What's the voice that engages you the most? What's your audience? Not everybody has the same audience. I've written for different types of audiences. For a completely popular audience in a more secular setting. I've written for the Christian academia. I've written in between. And it took me a little while to find out that my voice, the place where I feel most comfortable, is to write probably for church leaders or Christians who read quite a bit and want to know more. So it's that kind of not completely popular, but not academic either. That's my sweet spot. The other thing has been for me to work out that I'm a speaker first, so I need to hear my books before I put pen to paper. So getting to know yourself as a person by experimenting, try writing different things, try writing different styles, know what you like to read, and who you want to speak to is a good start, and get other people to read you. I learned more by working with other people than by working on my own. That's really scary at first, and it's really, really painful because when you write, it's like your baby. But because of my job as chaplain to the Archbishop, I had to do lots of writing, some of it on behalf of the Archbishop, some of it in my own name. We had a great comms team, and I had a couple of people I worked with, and I drafted and they edited. In the process of working with them, I really got to understand the process between first draft and finished product. And I saw the value in teamwork, in getting other people you trust to kind of really help you, and in developing the ability to receive kind of constructive feedback. First, pray. You can't write about God without talking to God, so integrate that. Second, be really clear about who you're writing for and to. And third, get feedback. If you're interested in writing about theology, in exploring something in more depth so that you can write more about theology, then consider coming to study with us at Ridley.